Hello, my name is Miles Tyler. I'm the new assistant women's track and field coach at Cleveland State University. Last year, I attended a coach's clinic, and after listening to a lot of good coaches, a coach that really stood out to me was Coach Ralph White. After the clinic, I was able to get his contact information, and we were able to talk more about track and field. He invited me along with a couple other young coaches to come out and do a track and field video with him tomorrow. In conclusion, this is not a professional video. But what we do hope is that you find something in this video that's worth your while. And if you do, please share it. Thank you. All right, Cody, I think we're here. We're at the right spot. Let's go inside. Let's ask some questions and let's learn some track.
Now, I'm a math person. First of all, you said there's 3 of you.
Yes.
I only see 2.
Yeah. Sterling's going to be coming a little later.
Sterling's coming later? Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you're here, and you brought a video man. You guys are on the ball. I always get my good side. All right? And make sure I have a lot of hair. I want to look closer to 40 than 70. So if you can do all those things, we're in business. But anyway, what you're doing, much larger scale, I did many years ago when I went to Clemson. I went down there, and I called up who I thought was like 10 of the best coaches in the country. And I said, hey, this is in July. And I said, hey, can you come on up? We just sit and talk track. And I talked as an example. I called John McDonald from Arkansas. I called Pat Henry from LSU. He was at LSU at the time. Curtis Fry, the great hurdle coach from South Carolina. Bill Carsons, good quarter mile coach, sprint coach from East Carolina. Vince Anderson, who at the time was at Tennessee. John Cook, who worked at George Mason, and then he went on to coach for Nike. And you're smiling. You guys, you don't even know these names, right? So yeah, okay. Well, let me just say these are like some of the legends. And the nice thing about it, they all came. They're going to pay their own way. They're going to pay for a hotel, and they're just going to come for a weekend up at Clemson University. Now, 9 out of 10 end up showing up. Then we had a few other guys. Another very good coach, David Kaiser, came and just sat in on it. Because he was there. We just talk track, but you want to adopt a lot of the things that they tell you, and then adapt it to your own, coaching philosophy. And let's get started. Give me a question. Let's start there.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying I have all the answers. That's why you talk to a lot of different persons, but I'll give you my opinion, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, my first question, I know you've had a lot of success. You've won over 100 championships, Clemson, SMU. You've been to places that us coaches, young coaches, will like to be. And so, like I said, my first question is, how do you develop a championship program?
That's a good question to get started with. Before we even start on that, by the way, you're at Cleveland State now.
Yes, sir.
And you guys have, what, 3 or 4 scholarships? You're new. Okay, it's gonna be tough. But one of the people I would speak to, your head coach down there, was one of my former athletes, Maddie Outman. Very, very knowledgeable. She's a heptathlete, a good one. Just one of the hardest working kids I've had. And she made herself good. She just worked her tail off, and consequently, get better and better and better and better. And being a heptathlete, she knows a lot of events. Where I'd really tap in for you, by the way, is the mental aspect. Okay, so Cody, you're over at University School.
Yes, sir. That's
okay,
correct.
Great school. Great. When I was at Williams College, we had a couple of the students who came there, and they were top notch. Mm-hmm. And obviously, if they went to Williams, they had to be top notch, right?
Yeah.
Coach Taylor over there, walking encyclopedia. He knows a lot about track, a lot about different events. So I'd pick his brain.
Yeah.
Actually, their whole coaching staff's good.
Mm-hmm.
So just sit and talk to them and learn and take notes.
Yes, sir.
And just go on and on and on. But you asked me, in no particular order, I'll give you some of the things that I think are important. Okay. And it's nice that you're taking notes there and you're taking notes there, and also you got it on the videotape. You guys got it all covered. That's good. I like that. But one would be leadership, and leadership starts with you. You got to develop a philosophy, and then you set it out and you really decide, hey, this is what I want, and you convey that to your staff and then to your team, and you got to get everybody to buy into it. You have to have a plan, and you set the example by your attitude, by your work ethic, enthusiasm, dedication. Those are all the things that I think are very, very important. So you got to know where you're going, how you're going to go about it. So leadership would be one, and I can expand more on these anyway. But what I'm thinking, attitude. I think I've been pretty lucky being at the right places at the right time, but you know, attitude makes a big difference. I probably could spend an hour on attitude because I think that's one of the reasons, you know, had a little bit of success. Because our attitude, we expected to win. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We set the bar very high. As you get to know me, I have a lot of sayings. And one is, you know, no one rises to low expectations. So we set the bar up there pretty darn high. Another short saying, you know, attitude, I could probably spend an hour just on that.
Can you give us an example of that, Coach?
Okay, I'll give you an example. Yeah, when I took over a program, I was at a junior high school in Maryland, Laurel Junior High, small town, and we did fairly well. I was able to talk the principal into getting us a track team, and we made a deal. If you start coming into my office, I'll let you have a track program. So we had, I think, 95 kids out of the 230 in the school come out for track. Anyway, because we'd done so well, a good friend of mine, the second best coach I know, Bob Rothenberg, he said there's going to be an opening at Eleanor Roosevelt High School. He said there's a school that has a lot of talent, but they may not be as disciplined as they should be and so forth, and why don't you go ahead and apply? So I did. Well, they had finished 14th out of 17th in the county. So they only beat 3 teams. I had 14 out of 17. You know, not exactly, you know, the best program. But we decided to change the attitude. My first day that I got over there, I had a big billboard made. It's actually a piece of plywood. We painted it. We had someone from art class. I was good friends with the art teacher, and he put state champs in training. We put some posts, we went out there and stuck it in the ground, and everybody saw it. Now a lot of these kids, you know, didn't know. We got a lot of new kids out for the team. A lot of the ones who were older, you know, they started buying into it. And then we started preaching different things because the mind really controls things. And it was like, hey, I want you to repeat every morning when you get up. I want you to repeat this 25 times before you go to bed and during the day. And I want you to do it with convictions. And it might be stuff like, I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. Then later on, I'm getting good. I'm getting good. I'm getting good. Maybe next week it might be, I'm going to do well. I'm going to do well. I'm going to do well. And every week we have a different thing. And the attitude changed. And again, to make a long story short here, we went from 14th to 17th in a county with no state qualifiers to winning the state championship. Bob was right. You know, like I said, he knew what he was talking about. He had won 12 state championships in a row. Okay, and I see you smiling.
Well, because you say you know the second best, you know, like the second best coach, and so athletes and coaches are kind of similar, as in they have egos. So are you saying you're the best coach? You're the number one coach?
No. I didn't mean to give you that impression. I'm not in the top 10 as far as best coach. I'm number 11. But no, Bob, I said he's the second best coach I know. The best coach I know is actually his wife, Ann. She was the one, you know. Ann not only knew her ex's nose, but she would go. They had to have practice early in the morning. She'd go and pick them up at 6 o'clock in the morning. She made sure they had breakfast. She tutored them. She helped keep them out of trouble. And Bob did all these things too. I learned a lot from that. And the two of them, I've never met anyone promote track and field like Bob and Ann Rothenberg. And then Bob, after winning 12 state championships, then we came in and gave him a little bit of competition. And then he went on to Brown University and did a great job. Bob and Ann, husband and wife, they went there. Both of them, outstanding. You know, here in Ohio, by the way, I don't know if you know Wayne Clark, M&F Athletics. But Wayne Clark is another person who just promotes the sport. And we need more people like that. And that's one of the things you guys need to do. Like in this video, you're going to be looking at it. If you find something on there that's worthwhile, I want you to share it with other people. You know, I talked about all these great coaches I went and met with. None of them said, oh no, I'm going to keep my secrets. They came and opened up. They told us everything, you know, their little secrets, so to speak. And collectively, you know, we all got together and we shared ideas, we all became better. So I'm hoping, you know, if like I said, if something worthwhile comes out of this, you go and share it with some other people. The attitude, again, that was just one of many things. And then, you know, and then we got some t-shirts and so forth and so on. But we had them start thinking, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. We're going to be good. And, you know, like I said, we won the county easily. Then we won, you know, districts, and we ended up winning the state championship. So a third thing would be setting goals. I mean, you have your athletes set goals, short term and long term, and then you have to set some team goals too. And like I said, set the bar high. You know, it's easy to say, oh, we're gonna try to get someone to qualify, you know, for the state championship, or we're gonna try to score, or we're gonna try to improve on 14th out of 17th. You know, no, hey, we're gonna try to win something. And now one of the things I did that was very helpful, I think was very helpful, was we went to a meet that was pretty low key, the first one, and we dominated. So what do you think happened then? We went there.
Confidence.
Get confidence, that's right. We started getting confidence. And all of a sudden, hey, we're getting good. Just like, you know, I've been telling myself, we're getting good. So have your team set goals. That I think is very, very, very important. Another little thing is that sometimes you go to meets, the first meet of the year, don't enter your kids where they're going to have success. So maybe they are the best one, you know, you enter a slower time where they end up winning their heat. That's going to get more confidence than putting some ridiculous time in what you're hoping they're going to run at the end of the year, and they go in, they run with the big boys right off the bat, and they get crushed, and then boom. So that's a little trick that I think would be very helpful, you know, as long as goals. And like I said, we can spend a lot of time, you know, we'll do a little bit here, and if you want to do later, I'll go these in depth. Recruiting is probably a big key. I've been lucky with teachers helping me out. As an example, this Eleanor Roosevelt, one of the teachers come out and said, hey, there's a shy boy here, and he's tall and he's lanky, he probably can run. So we went and recruited him. This kid's name was Theo Hodge. He's now a doctor down in the DC area. But Theo came out, and yes, he could run. And we never had him on a track team. But the difference he made, he came out, and back then, we're in the mid-70s now. Maybe a little bit of time before you were born. Like, Theo ran 409.0 in a mile. Not a mile, not 1,600 meters, a mile, which is longer. As you guys know, it's more than 9 meters longer. And then he ran 150.1 in an 880, which is about a 149.3, 149.4, you know, this time. So that made a tremendous difference to our program. So we recruited him. Same thing at the junior high school. Kids came by like, wow, we could win a medal. Yeah, oh yeah. And sure enough, you know, by the end and so we had 95 kids from a small school that came out for track. And that's, by the way, and that's what you want. You want quantity, because quantity will get you quality. Because the way you win track meets is 5ths, 6ths, 7ths, and 8ths. Those are still points. You know, 5 points here, 3 points there, 2 points, and you add those up. Because everyone has top-notch people, but you want some, you know, you're going to get another 30, 40 points. That's how you win championships. And then afterwards, we won our first championship in our tie-dye shirts because we didn't have any money. The art class, they went, you know, we had our own uniforms. And then we put that one trophy in with the other 16 we already had. They were fake, but, you know, it works. But recruiting, and if you're going to go do it on a college level, so in high school, junior high, or middle school now, I guess, these days, in college, that's the key. If you want to be a good coach, be a good recruiter. So,
You think you can give an example of that, Coach?
well, okay, here's one. I'll give you a good example of going back from the junior high, which was in Maryland, then the high school, which is in Maryland. We ended up, not because of me, but because the kids just worked their butts off and got confidence and so forth, ended up being the #1 high school team in the country. So consequently, that got me a job somewhere, you know, down there. I went down to Clemson University, and we had 2 pretty good quarter milers. And I love the quarter. I love the quarter because those kids can do so many things. They can run a half, they can run a 200, they can run a 4x1. Quite often they can jump, they hurdle, they do a lot of things. So if you want to build a team, you might want to build it off of quarter milers. Now you talk to other coaches, they'll go a different way. But I've always tried to build a lot off of quarter milers. So we had 2 pretty good ones. And then I'm working in the fall, and we had another young man who was a long jumper, Kenny Franklin, who's now a coach up on the East Coast. And Kenny was a mediocre long jumper. You know, he's a 24, well, I don't mean to offend anybody, 24 feet, not that that's bad. But in college, at big, real Division I's, you know, you're just one of the guys. But I noticed he came down the runway pretty fast. So I said, Kenny, did you ever sprint? He said, nah, I didn't make my 4x1 team. Or they never even asked me, I never even tried. He ended up, I said, we're going to try it. So he ended up running 10:31, 20:60, and 45:2. So now I had 3 quarter milers. I only need 1 more. Because I love the mile relay. And this kid by the name of Atum Adibo, he had run 47 low in high school in Maryland, about 2 miles from these schools that I coached at. So I thought I had it in. I called up, you know, called the guidance counselor first thing. It's always the person you want to call first, make sure they're a student. And oh yeah, he's a very good student. All right, good. I said, can you transfer me over to the coach? I got a hold of the coach, and coach's like, sorry, but his father gave us strict instructions. He's only speaking to UCLA and Baylor. He's narrowed things down already. I said, I know, but he hasn't signed or anything. I just want to talk to him and give us a... He said, no. His father is adamant that's not happening. And, we appreciate it. Well, I used some of my contacts and found out one of my former students that I had at the high school was a teacher there. So I called him and said, hey, I need to speak to her too. And he said, I went and spoke to him, and he said, nope, he's not interested. And this went on and on and on and on. That weekend, I just decided, and you guys don't know me that well, but if you ask some of the administrators I worked with, they would tell you that I don't take no real well. That's one of my many faults. Sometimes it's a good thing. I just decided I'm going to fly up, knock on his door, and go for it. Because I tried everyone else, and there's just no. So I literally drove the hour to the airport from Clemson, took the flight, drove an hour from D.C. up to Maryland, knocked on the door. His father answered the door. I said, hi, I'm Ralph Whiter from Clemson University. I'd like to, talk to you about your son. He said, nope. And he started to close the door. And I kind of put my foot there, and I said, but sir, I just want, he said, Coach, we've narrowed it down between Baylor and UCLA, and I appreciate your time, but no thank you. He closed the door. I was like, whoa. I just spent 4 hours to get up here, and nothing happened. So, you want an example of recruiting? I thought there for a second, and I knocked on the door again. I regrouped, knocked on the door and said, excuse me, I just spent a lot of time, to get up here, and all I want to do is just let him know something about. I said, because, I've run against Baylor and UCLA, and we've never lost either one of them. And he said, well, I'm sorry. And I said, and I'm really thirsty, and I need to go to the bathroom. Could I do that? And he said, well, you're really thirsty in the bathroom? He said, there's a restaurant about a block down the road, and I'm sure they can accommodate you. And I was a little bit upset about it, but I was like, okay, and I had a bag with me that I brought some stuff, my recruiting material, and I said, that's fine, and I set my bag down. I said, but I'm going to camp in your yard until I get to see him. And just about that time, the mom came by, and she was much nicer. And she said, okay, well, she said to the dad, she said, how about just give us 5 minutes? And that's fine. Then the rest was history. He came, because he was already running indoors, and he had run 47 point. But he came to Clemson his first year, and he ran 45:01 indoors, won a national championship for us, a winning 4x4 relay team. So we got 2 national championships. So that was just a matter of being persistent, recruiting. A lot of coaches, and that's what I'm saying, no, unless they've signed, you keep pursuing it. And then we got 4 other #1 ranked kids in the country.